Welcome to my show, simply entitled Women Influencers, where you will find inspirational stories of successful women in business. I am Veronica Malolas, CCIM, founder and CEO of the Capstrata Group of companies, providing commercial real estate development, brokerage, and property management services in the greater Orlando area. Today's guest is Julia and Gino Barbaro, my first couple on the show. Life coaches, multifamily gurus, well, just let their incredible story unfold for you. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below. I welcome your comments and please share with someone who can benefit from this podcast.
Well, I am so excited to have Gino and Julia. Is it Barbaro? How do you pronounce it?
That is correct.
Hey, look at that. That was really good. Yeah, it's so great to have both of you on the show today. I think you're my first couple on my show. So if you don't mind, I just want to jump right in and ask you about your story, how both of you grew up in your environment, how you met, and how you got to where you are today. So please tell us.
Well, I like to start off by saying we hope we're not your last couple. If
Ah.
we're your last couple, we didn't deliver. So for me, I just grew up in an immigrant household. I had two parents that were from Italy. They were both hardworking. So I grew up with that mentality of working hard, starting a business. My wife often jokes to me and she says, well, you grew up having goals and being able to save money. And I had a different kind of relationship with money than my wife did. And I was more structured. I got out of college, went into the restaurant business. My family opened up a restaurant for years and we had a restaurant and that's where me and my wife went.
Yeah.
I met.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We met at the restaurant. He bought the restaurant I worked at. So kind of worked out.
That's so awesome. Well, Julia, tell me about how you grew up.
Yeah, it was very different. We had an Irish Catholic family, but my mom was single. She raised the three of us. And it was very different because she worked, again, hardworking. So we both had that instilled in us about hard work. And it was just different because money was always an issue. Money, there was never enough. We didn't really talk about it, but we did. It was an argument. And it was just confusing to me. And when we met at the restaurant that my husband bought, it was just an eye opener to me to see this family, again, Italian immigrants, working differently. And I watched my mom and all our family work really hard, but I saw a difference because they were working very smart. It was a different scenario for me. And my desire was always to get married, have a family, and just stay at home and raise them. And that's what we did for now. It's almost 27 years now together. We have 6 children. We homeschool our kids. Half of them are adults now, which is amazing. And we just been on this journey of coaching and money coaching and helping other people and being real. And I think that's so important to me is, through our marriage, we weren't very open with other people. If there was an issue, we kind of kept it to ourselves. We weren't, and I think what happens is I always thought it was just me. It was just us. And so I think the more we talk to people about it, the more we realize, hey, everyone's in this together. So
It's pretty amazing. But
it
wait,
is.
wait, wait, Julia, I have to ask you,
Yeah,
did you give birth to all 6?
I did.
Wow. Because let me tell you that we have a lot in common,
Oh,
right?
amazing.
We're married 25 years. We
Yeah.
raised 5 children together, but I gave birth to only 2 of them.
Well, you gave birth to 2. So I just want to put that out there. Yes, we had 6 children in 15 years. And even crazier, we had them at home. It was a beautiful experience, a lot of work, a lot of pain, but incredibly beautiful
And this is
and memorable.
this is the first learning lesson, I think, for couples. If you're going to have a couples podcast, I'll share this story, and it's really important to me. And it's important because couples need to trust each other. And that's why I think we've been married for so long. In 2012, I came home from the restaurant. I was exhausted. I had my chef coat on. I took it off. I smelled like garlic. And I know people love the smell of garlic, but when it smells like it's your cologne, it can be a little overwhelming. And I remember feeling dejected. I remember feeling sad. I remember being in the laundry room of the house. And I looked at my wife and I said to my wife, Jewel, how would it be? How would you feel if I just quit the restaurant? I went into real estate full time and we moved to Florida.
Mm.
And I remember
From
saying
where?
that. We were in New
New
York at the
York.
time.
Uh,
And I remember her pausing for 5 seconds. And I remember her saying, sure, let's do it. And I think the moral of the story for me is, and I was reflecting on this as I was walking the other day. I was just thinking about Mary, right? Mary and Gabriel came down, and Gabriel asked Mary, do it to me. I'm the handmaid of the Lord. She had trust in God. And it's really incredible how a spouse can have trust in another one. And you're sitting there going, wow, she's giving me all that trust. She's actually saying, yes, do it. But on the flip side, the spouse, me, I have to say to her, I'm going to try my hardest. I'm going to put all my effort into it. You gave me that trust. You said yes to me. I have to say yes to the hard work. And it's worked that way in our lives, because when she came to me about homeschooling, I'm like, are you nuts? But then 3 seconds later, I said, I trust you, because nobody was homeschooling 20 something years ago. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that kind of trust you need to have that kind of trust in a relationship. And if you do say yes, you have to be willing to put in the work and the effort to actually get that trust.
No, I love it. I'll tell you why. There are more things in common now that I'm finding out. I used to live in New York City, so that's one. And we are now both in Florida, right? You guys, and then
Yes.
my family too. And I come from an immigrant family as well.
Hmm.
I mean, it's
Hmm.
pretty awesome. Hard work, trusting.
Yep.
I totally agree with you and everything that you said. So tell me, how did you eventually go into business? I'm assuming that's what you did, and started this coaching business.
For us, when we moved to Florida in 2017, I was out of a job. I left the restaurant. I quote unquote retired. And I came down to Florida and I sat on the beach for a couple of days, and I'm like, nah, that's not going to cut it. I was always the kind of person, I was always working. And I had gone to life coaching and I had become a life coach, and I love the space. I love the fact that I could talk to somebody and I could hear them and I could raise their level of energy. And all of a sudden they're doing things that they didn't think they could possibly do. And all I did was ask them a few questions.
Mm.
And I love that space. I said, so how do I translate that into a business? So I started teaching people on how to buy real estate and how to
Mhm.
become a multifamily investor. And then my wife one day went to an event and she saw me at that event and she asked me, what do you do? And what do I do?
Yeah, no, I have to put this out there because I had no desire to be a life coach, if any kind at all. I wanted nothing to do with it. I kind of thought it was kind of dumb, and I did. I went to his event, and people were, Julia, how are you raising these kids? Like they were well mannered. We all hung out together, and they loved the whole culture of family life. And they're like, the real estate is great, but we want to know what you do
Mhm.
and we want to know how you do it. How are you
Mhm.
married to this guy who's who's all over the place, teaching everyone, families there helping out, and they wanted to know more. And so I secretly went home and looked online, and I found, because I had still younger children, and I found an online course that I could take one-on-one to become a life coach. And I was really excited. I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to do at this point in my life. I've gone through a lot, I've experienced a lot, but it was all internal. And I was like, I have a desire to help other people, but I don't know how. And this is it. And I took this nice, beautiful walk to the beach, and it was amazing. And I was so excited. And I texted my husband. I said, I said, what if I was become a life coach? And he didn't respond. And I'm walking, and 5 minutes later, I'm looking, I'm like, he's not responding. And everything went through my head. Oh my gosh, he thinks, I shouldn't become one. I'm going to be terrible at it. All these thoughts, how we play this story in our head. And by the time I got home, I was so furious at my husband for thinking all these terrible things about me and becoming a life coach. I was so deflated. I was like, forget it, I'm not doing it. I went from 100% in to being like, forget it, I'm not doing it. And I walked through the door and I said, Gino, I said, he goes, what? And I said, you get my text? He's like, no. And he goes over and he looks, he's like, oh, you want to become life coach? That's awesome. He's like, you'd be amazing at it. And I just sat there and I was like, hold on a second. How am I going to I was so furious at him. I was so conflicted. I'm like, wait, am I mad or am I not mad? It took me a couple days. And then we just kind of dove it together, and we started coaching. I started coaching with him through his real estate community. And it's just it was the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced, because I got to with him, we got to experience other people and kind of walk through our story on all our difficulties, all our issues, and how we overcame them. And our communication, it wasn't the best, and now it's pretty good, but it's going to get better. You know what I mean? And so it
Yeah.
was such a beautiful moment for us just to
Oh,
work together
I
and
love
to
it.
experience life together and to help other people.
Yeah. Well, Can't get any better than that. But another thing that we have in common, I'm also in commercial real estate, so that's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
But I wanted to ask you about challenge.
Mm,
If there was one challenge that comes to mind, and it could be one for you, Julia, and
yeah.
another for Gino, what would that be? And how I want to know how you overcame it too.
Yeah. I'll go if something just came up that if there's something on your mind, especially if it's with your spouse or one of your children, something's on your mind, you probably replay it over and over and you're afraid to bring it up. You're afraid to talk to that person. I challenge you to just bring it up, just do it. And I know a lot of us women sometimes we either talk way too much and our husband's like, "What?" Like you're or we don't actually say what's on our mind because we're
Mhm.
afraid of the reaction, we're afraid of the outcome. If something's weighing on you, just bring it out
And
and
are you
expose.
are you drawing from personal experience then?
Absolutely, 100%. I
And
kept a
how
lot of things to myself for many, many years. Yeah.
and how has that voted for you? I mean, how did that turn out? What you just spoke about?
The thing is, it's a complete freedom. Even if there's the kids, you're going through something, something's wrong, but you don't wanna hurt their feel whatever it is, there's a freedom to being honest and open and
Mm.
knowing and letting them know that you care, you're worried, and you wanna talk about it. And I
Yeah.
think it teaches other people that's like, "Oh, okay, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to bring things up, even if you're afraid of you don't know where to go with it, you can't fix it," let's say. There's a freedom to
Absolutely.
just speaking openly and letting the person know that you've been thinking about this for a while. So that would be
No,
my challenge.
absolutely, absolutely, totally agree. I mean, communication, well,
Mhm.
and I think overcoming the fear, right,
Sure,
is
sure.
really quite a challenge, not just for I think it's for most people. Now, Gino, tell me.
It's interesting when you talk about challenge, one story pops into my mind, the challenge back in 2008 when I was at the precipice of really I'm at the restaurant, my father has just passed away. I'm
Mm,
asking the question, have I been living his dream
Mm,
because we work together as a family, or was
yeah.
I living my dream? And I had to be honest with myself. It wasn't as if I was living my dream. So my challenge was I was always blaming other external circumstances, the
Sure.
president, the economy. I didn't have enough money. I didn't have enough time. And by looking at that challenge and saying, well, where is the opportunity in here? I read a book by T. Harv Eker called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And in the book, he says, your fruits are in your roots. And I
Mm,
had to be honest, my roots were very shallow. Hence, I didn't have any kind of fruits on my tree. In
mm,
other words, I didn't have enough value to provide. I didn't have enough skills that I could bring to the marketplace, which means for me, I was in the victimhood. I had that victim mentality. It was everyone else's fault. Once I understood that I had that control, and if I adopted that responsibility, I could take on any challenge. And I think that's for a lot of us out there, we may get lost sometimes in thinking, woe is me, and everyone else has it better. I have, something real quick to say to everybody. We are all winging it and figuring it out. That's the reality. And the challenge is to understand that and not to look at yourself as a victim, but to take control and to take responsibility of your life.
mm,
I love that. Totally, totally agree with you on that. So let's move on. I want to ask about influence. And the name of the show is Women Influencers, although I love having Gino on the
I
show.
love having him here too.
Yeah, it's just awesome. And I'm sure that Gino, you coach a lot of women too.
Mhm.
I do.
I imagine the both of you do.
Yeah.
So let
Hmm.
me ask you about influence. If there was one outcome that you both are most proud of, that you had an impact on, what would that be?
For me, I mean, there was a few marriages that we helped save. I think that to me was I just I it was kind of I was in awe, I would just say, by just coaching them and being there and being present with them. We did some money coaching with them as well, and it was amazing to me. And that influence, I mean, I just don't think I could top that because to me that's everything.
Isn't it true
Yeah,
that a big percentage of divorces
yeah,
actually start from financial
100%. Yeah.
conflict?
And
Hmm.
the thing is, it's interesting because it's usually not the money itself. It's the fear of the money. It's the ideas, it's the beliefs, it's the patterns we have around money. And so
Mm,
the argument usually has nothing to do with the finances themselves. It's just, you want to talk about that for a second? Because,
Well, it's
yeah.
very interesting. I just had a call with a gentleman today and talking about influence. He's a very big multifamily investor, and I was in the space. And he actually sent me a message today. And he said to me, I've had a lot of admiration and respect for you, not from your portfolio, but the way you are with your family and your integrity. So for me, from the influential standpoint, that's the way I want myself, my wife, and my family to show up, to be that way, to be that person of influence. Because we've taught over, I've taught hundreds of students. Over 100 of our students have left their W-2s. Over 90,000 units they've closed. Those are all great things. But when people can look at you and go, I want to live the life you're living. I see the life of family, because that's what our goal ultimately is we want to, focus on families with financial independence. And if they have that, they can really change the world. And that's what I think we're trying to lean towards, is being influential in that space and being a role model for families in the business world.
I love that. Totally, totally, totally love that.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to ask you, if there was one piece of advice that you could give to our audience today, what would that be? And you can take turns.
The one piece of advice that I've really been harping on these past several weeks, I've been taking a financial therapy course, and it
Mm,
really comes down to, before you solve a problem, and listen, this is all for me. So anyone listening out there, you may say to yourself, "Wow, that sounds like I should be able to do that." But before you go and solve a problem, connect with the person and make sure that's what they actually want you to do, is to solve the problem. Because if you don't have connection with somebody, you won't be able to actually have any kind of influence or any kind of persuasion over the person. So take your time. Don't sit there and solve. Really listen to the person. As Stephen Covey likes to say, seek first to understand,
and
then
then you
to
understood.
be
There you
understood.
go.
If you can do that, and it's
Mhm.
very challenging for me, if you can do that, you will become a much better person at persuasion and at influencing other people's lives.
Good.
Another thing we have in common. I love Stephen Covey.
Uh-huh.
Julia, tell us one piece.
I'm going to go with something just popped up, is just forgiveness. I think a
Mhm.
lot of times we don't talk about it enough. And it's a daily reminder every day. It's, who do I have to forgive today? And how am I going to do that?
I'm going to remind you that later when
Yeah,
I make a mistake. I'm going to say, "You're going to
I
forgive
know.
me." Okay.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
I think that we overlook the forgiveness because we carry a lot of weight and we hold a lot of grudges and we don't even
Mhm.
notice it. And it shows up in how we show up to our family, how we show up in our household, in the world. And I think if we can just look at that forgiveness piece and say, okay, how am I going to forgive right now? And just live in that moment for a minute.
Oh, that's powerful. I
Yeah.
mean, people do talk about forgiveness all the
Yeah.
time. We go to
Sure.
church, they talk about
Yeah.
forgiveness. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what we're
Mhm.
supposed to do, but it's
Yeah.
one of the hardest
It's
things.
hard. I think we forget that it's an ongoing process. It's not a
Yes,
one and done, because they were like, well, I'm still mad. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to be mad, but just an ongoing, okay, but I'm still going to forgive because I love. Let me love
I
more. Yeah.
absolutely love
Yeah.
that. So I think we've come to the part of the interview where you guys get to ask me a question. So please go ahead.
So, Veronica, for you, I'd love for you to paint a picture of success. What does success look like to you?
So that's a really good question. So thank you. I love that question. To me, success is about impact, of how you've touched other people or how you've actually helped others or built a community. I think we are here and God blesses us so that we can bless others.
Mm.
Right. To me, and sometimes I think I could make much more money than I do. But I make pretty good money. But for instance, when I think about my church,
Mhm.
they need the resources to be able to do God's work. And once in a while, I'd be sitting in the pews or in my chair, and I'd look at maybe people they interview that they've actually helped. And I think to myself, that is most important work. That is more important than what I do. And so I think that it is so important that we as a people really think about how we can make an impact. So for me, success is that if God takes me today and I see a room full of people that said, I've been impacted by her, I think to me that would be success. So
Mhm.
thank you for asking me that question. I
Thank
absolutely
you.
love that.
Love that
So
answer.
let me ask you, if my audience wanted to connect with you, how do they do that?
I would just go to barbaro360.com. That's our website where we host our podcasts. We have a weekly real estate show. We have a bi-weekly podcast, myself and my wife. We started 6 years ago. I've created a show with my son called the Happy Money Podcast. So my son's 23 years old, and we love talking about money. It's from the perspective of an adult and from the perspective of a young adult. And it's just great seeing the differences between the generations and having those open and honest conversations. So just go to barbaro360.com.
And that's
R
BARO
BARO. Yep. 360.com.
360.com.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Julia, you want to add anything to
Yes.
connecting with?
Yes, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we have a community in school. So check us out there as well.
That's so awesome. And let me tell you, we don't have enough financial literacy uh, forums out there, right?
Mhm.
So I'm so happy that you, both of you, really are putting it out there that it can be learned as a skill, right? And it can be learned and taught at home. So
Mhm.
thank you for all you do. And I want to thank you again for being such great guests at our show today. And I wish you all the very best. I'm sure we're going to stay connected.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.